I've never had a Pokemon experience like this before. This is Pokemon Ultra Sun, and this game originally killed my love for the series, which is kinda dumb to me cause 12-year-old me never gave it a real chance. But I could have never expected that 8 years later this would become my most dramatic, exciting, and emotional Nuzlocke adventure to this day. Maybe I should just start at the beginning. Okay, maybe not that early. To start off, we get greeted by an action-packed cutscene, which ends with the disappearance of that mysterious girl and her Pokemon. And wait, whoa, is that a subscribe card? Oh my god, you should totally click it. And 3 months later, I arrived in Alola, the region that introduced the second coolest starter Pokemon ever. And speaking of them, here they come, saving me from the Pokemon equivalent of Donald Trump. Now there is an obvious best starter choice for Nuzlocke playthroughs of this region, but I'm a bit ignorant and I need an ignorant Pokemon to match that. Also, Incineroar is the freaking coolest Pokemon ever and you can't convince me otherwise. Now that the cutscenes are running, let me just give you an insight into the rules. I heard this might be the hardest Pokemon game ever, and so the rules I made up only make this experience more and more painful for me. Rule number 1. It's a Nuzlocke, so we're dealing with permadeath. Number 2 is that no items will be used in battle. Number 3, I only play in set mode. And number 4, I only get 1 encounter per route. To my surprise, I'd encounter a human before anything else. My local rival How. He and his Rowlet will be completely outclassed by my Litten. Next up on my Alola tour was my first introduction to Iggy Town. Here I'd actually meet that mysterious girl from earlier, and I also saw our Pokemon getting harassed by Spearows. So I tried to help out, which somehow almost ends up with me dying. If it wasn't for Tapu Koko, I literally would be mush on the street right now. Once the game stopped holding my hand so tightly, I finally got to explore a bit. At Route 1 I caught a Grubbin that I called Billie Jean, and then I head towards Icky Town for the festival, while spotting some interesting sightseers on the way. The Icky Festival was fine. You get to see a bit of the culture here, and oh wait, why am I on the stage? Yeah, we already get to fight How again, and this time, well, it basically goes the same. As a reward, I do get my own Z bracelet, so you know what? We take those. Shortly after, I also called myself switch to the Inkay and YouTube the Alola Meow. But look, the start of the game has been pretty slow. I had to go to the school to learn about battling, as if the 7-year-old this game was designed for wouldn't just press the strong move and move on. And that's exactly what I did. I went in expecting this to be the easiest Elo farm ever. But you know what? There were some trainers that could put up a respectable fight, probably because they all got some type of EV training, which is basically just putting your Pokemon on steroids. Yeah, I don't know how to explain that any better. But after graduating the school, I could finally head into the city and achieve my big boy dreams. Getting some drip. Afterwards, I also called Big Beak Developer, who I have great hopes for. I just kinda wanted to drizzle for me. After How and I explored some more, we'd run into some thugs that would call themselves Team Skull, but more like Team No with the way their skulls are empty. Obviously, they would stand no chance against the power of YouTube, but this new flamboyant guy would. This is Lima, the normal type captain trial leader, and I'll be honest, he gave me a taste of Alola's real cruelty. I thought it was going to be another cakewalk when he sent out his young goose. I'm aware of its high attack, so I set up a reflect to avoid taking crazy damage. And then I went for Foul Play to take an even bigger advantage of the crazy high attack stat and dealt some major damage. But in retaliation, Lima would send out Smeargle, an evil Pokemon. It has an interesting moveset, Water Gun to cover my starter's weaknesses, and Tackle. Now when I switched in YouTube so it comes on Knight's fake out damage, the Tackles didn't seem that threatening because of the reflect. But as soon as that ended, he started beating me up like I owed him money, putting me in a major dilemma. I didn't want to lose YouTube since I grew really attached to it in our short time together. So I sent out Big Beak, hoping it could tank a tackle. It didn't. I didn't want to lose anyone else, but the situation was looking pretty grim. Eventually I'd overthink things a lot and end up sending in Sunny, my starter, hoping it could outspeed. It didn't, but it's goated and it confirmed I made the right starter choice by surviving with 1 HP. So yeah, that was a real wake-up call, and with Lima defeated and me praying I never have to fight him again, we got to move towards Route 2, where I encountered Roblox. And Roblox actually might be pretty good. It has the ability Intimidate, and if you're familiar with a bit of competitive Pokemon, you might be aware that this ability is alright. This Pokemon might be cooking something special. But I'm not just going to show what I mean just yet, because for now, we should just be celebrating this cool Ghastly. Later that evening, I decided to visit the beach, but it was filled with those weirdos from Team Skull, so Roblox absolutely cooked them. Hold up, this Pokemon is this fire? In fact, it was so good that Lima invited us to our first ever trial, the normal type trial. Now this trial stuff is honestly the reason why I didn't want to give this game a chance when I was younger. I thought it was whack that there were no gyms, but I do want to give it an honest try now. The trial site Lima invited us into was filled with the Trump Pokemon. The goal was to fight 3 of them and then enter the final boss room. So I went around, did just that, and I don't know what I think about it because it was pretty thoughtless. But then when I finally entered that boss room, I felt kinda excited when I got jumped by a strangely huge gumshoe. This is called a Totem Pokemon. They guard various sea crystals throughout the region, and they are basically like your replacement for gym leaders in this game. Now they're just big, but I've prepared for this. Remember earlier when I mentioned that I was cooking up something special with Roblox? Well, this is where that comes into play. Roblox not only lowers attack at the start of battle, but it also has access to the move Glare, who paralyzes the opposing gumshoe. Then I switched to Switch 2, set up a Reflect, and basically made my defense impenetrable for 5 turns. And then I went back to my foul play strategy, trying to crank up as much damage in 5 turns. I did get a bit greedy, which has resulted in the death of Switch 2, but I had another Pokemon that wanted to take a shot. Haribo the Gatling. It will curse the gumshoes, but it would also take a bunch of damage, which got it killed really fast. I'm sorry, it wasn't on purpose, I swear. Luckily we had Choo-Choo and the curse combo to finish off the fight, and we'd walk out of there with our very own Sea Crystal, the Normalium Z. But even more importantly for me, I got a massive ego boost. Although things look pretty worrisome, very worrisome from time to time, I stick to my plans and IDs, which is a good thing. From personal experience, I've concluded that the best way to play a Nuzlocke is to believe in yourself. You gotta glaze yourself till you can't glaze no more. And after getting a quick demonstration on the ridiculousness that comes with C moves, I finally head towards the cliffside at Route 3. For a millisecond I was overjoyed because I got a Rufflet as my encounter. But then I remembered that it evolves at level 52, which basically means it's useless for 90% of the game. Great. And eventually, I'd end up at the Mele Meadow. Somehow Lily has lost Nabby, her special space Pokemon, once again. So I quickly caught Pide Plebebe and started hunting for that cosmic being. During my search, I ran into the blue people again, and apparently their goal is to find someone strong enough to protect the blinding one. But I don't know what he's talking about, so I'll let him eat this one too. And after embarrassing him, we'd give Cosmoke back to Lily and then end up finding How again. The fight itself wasn't anything to write home about, to be honest. I mean, we're on different levels at this point. But one thing I'll never forget about this fight is how disappointing my first Z move was. To wash the disappointment out of my mouth, I decided to explore the island a bit more. I got a Psyduck, I explored a graveyard, and I circled back to Icky Town to perform my final trial here. Challenging the Kahuna. Kahuna Hala is a fighting type trainer, someone I had the perfect counter against. Well, I might have left out to hang. Against his first 2 Pokemon, I wouldn't feel the consequences of that. But against this pro brawler, I definitely started feeling regret. The crab not only outspeeds all of my Pokemon, it does massive damage, covers my switches with Pursuit, and it has a level 3 ultimate in its back pocket. So I switched out Mista for Roblox to get an Intimidate off and hopefully give myself more space that way to play around. He responded by C-moving me the very same turn. Although the damage was anticlimactic, he got his point across. I make sure to Glare to get paralysis up and switch to Zubat. But of course the Kahuna has an item. Actually, most important trainers in the game do. And then Zubat got his defense lowered too, which makes this situation 100 times scarier for me. I decided against switching and just hoped one wing attack would take the Crabrawler out. And I guess right on getting hit by Pursuit and not switching, but it did a lot of damage. And of course the damage I did in return couldn't match that pure level of pure ignorance as strength. Zubat was checkmated. And yes, this asshole did heal up this very famed term. Not only that, but he also used Power Punch to get his attack back up before killing Zubat, which makes the situation the absolute worst. I just can't count on anyone here to survive a hit. Well, except YouTube. I thought to myself that I could just do enough damage to get it low enough with Stake Out, and then just use the C move to finish him off. It was like the perfect idea. It seemed like nothing could go wrong with it, you know? You've seen the effort that goes into them. You've got to be kidding me. Shit, so it turned out Z moves are pretty disappointing. That shit was worse than a McDonald's crispy chicken. We ended up victorious in the end, but I just couldn't stop thinking of what could have been. I love YouTube like it was my own child, and all I gained from this was another stupid sea crystal. I just had to get off this island. So I hopped on a Mantike and surfed into the next one. Welcome to Akala Island. Maybe I could get past the pain of my losses here and start something new. Just like Melee, this island has its own kahuna. This time it's Olivia who specializes in rock types. But before I get to fight her, I need to go through more trials. And knowing this game, I'll also go through medieval ways of torture. Like interacting with these tourists that randomly decided to battle me. Which has no relation to the plot at all, by the way. But I secretly like these hard battles, so take it with a grain of salt. I did really feel the need to catch more Pokemon though, because my party right now was basically all I had. The Pokemon I was longing for the most was surprisingly a Rattata, but no matter what I tried, I just couldn't find one to save my life. I even found a Flyme Sea by accident. But for a Rattata, how? Eventually, I'd also encounter a Pikipek, a fine replacement for my Pokemon that won't evolve at a reasonable level. And soon after, we'd run into How again. This time he wasn't alone though, he was getting bullied. Or maybe he was just losing battles against this hot topic as trainer. This is Gladion and he has one of the best battle teams in Pokemon. He also made me fall for Sora's Solution, which made me feel even dumber than I already am. And for some reason, he has a legendary Pokemon in the form of type Null. That's like fighting the Elden Ring final boss at the start of the game. This shit ain't fair. But through my sheer willpower and abuse of paralysis, I make it through without losing anyone. Also, Team Skull calls him homeless, so like, damn, I don't think they really fuck with it. Our next step to becoming the champion was the water trial. Here we meet Lana and get ourselves a Lapras, which is basically the surf TM. Throughout the trial, we gather a school of Wishiwashi, but the totem Pokemon would actually turn out to be something way tamer than that. It's just a giant arachnid. Now you might be wondering, how's the 10 feet, 480 pound Pokemon tamer than a school of fishes? Well, it is the worst type in the game. And I don't know, maybe I have a strong flying type Pokemon with a flying type C move. And I think you see where this is going. Holy shit. I think I'm in love. Maybe I should just approach these trials a bit differently. Maybe I shouldn't look at them as slugfest, but as puzzles, and try to one-shot everything. Before I left the trial site, I decided to get some encounters in and call myself Wii the Poliwag. And then I ended the game for the day. Next time I started the game, I actually forgot to hit record. But I promise nothing major happened, and this Barboach I caught is completely legit. Homer the Barboach would also start showing off right away as the leading Pokemon against the blue guy named Dulce. And it's a pretty odd looking Pokemon. Have I already mentioned it looks odd? Afterwards, I would manage to capture my encounters on videos. Introducing you to Amidori Choreo. I didn't even know this Pokemon existed, but it's pretty cool and it has a cool gimmick, so you know what? It's more than welcome to join me when I need. But right now, what I need was some of your prayers, because I got dragged into a battle royale. And it's not the fun type that features the gritty. I quite honestly was confused and didn't know how this battle royale was going to work. And if I should even count it for my Nuzlocke. But as a precaution, I sent in one of my strongest soldiers, B, who will barely survive the attacks thrown at her, because everything was obviously targeted against us. But this battle royale experience did get the fire captain Kawaii to take notice of us, and he ended up inviting us to Volcano Park. Little did he know that I had quite the arsenal to take on some puny fire types, like my newly caught Wishiwashi or the more seasoned veteran Psyduck. I also call my own fire types like Fletchling, which is cool, I guess. I mean, another flying type. Heading up the volcano will turn out to be its own challenge. I kept running into this Pokemon named Salandit, which would absolutely cook all of my Pokemon every time I ran into it. So I simply had to stop doing that. And then I made my way to the trial, did the funny Marowak mannequin challenge, and started my battle against the Totem Marowak. Parappa was a bit hurt at the start of the battle because trial itself doesn't give you time to heal between fights, but I'm sure Parappa will be okay, so we're in trouble. If only I had a ground Pokemon that could hit both Pokemon. Alright, I did. And with a strong bubble from Wishiwashi, we'd end up clearing the trial with only one death, which still sucks. Clearing the fire trial opened up a shady tunnel, where I caught myself a Wimpod. And then I head down to Route 8, where I met up with a ghost from my past. My favorite terrorist, Colress. Although he's a terrorist, he's a pretty silly guy, so you know what? There's no bad blood between us. So yeah, I just explored the route, ran into a fossil revival caravan, which will come into play later, and I caught myself a Stuffle and a Rattata I longed for so long, before finally entering the lush jungle for my fourth trial. For my fourth trial in the jungle, my main goal was to collect ingredients and cook up a meal so good that even the likes of Gordon Ramsay couldn't achieve this flavor. The exquisite aroma would summon the totem Pokemon Lurantis. But I wasn't scared. I'm experienced now. So I start with Roblox, Para, use my new move Screech that harshly lowers defense, and of course just because Kecleon sets the sun up. Why would you do this? I don't feel bad for Lurantis at all. I'm just like, I'm just shocked, like, why? Ironically, Kecleon would actually turn out to be the bigger menace. But the big homie Billie Jean would finish the job, and I'd finally have all my requirements to fight the island kahuna. Afterwards, I went back hoping for a Pissimian encounter, but because this Nuzlocke hates me and never gives me anything I want, I walked away with a Steenie. But that's just kinda how life works, you know? You never know what to expect next. Sometimes you hang around with a terrorist, and before you know it, you find out aliens are actually real. Aliens have nothing to do with my main quest, though. To get to her, I head through Diglett's tunnel, where I catch, well, you can guess. Then I ran into a top 3 Pokemon character, got a love disc, and finally got to her base of operations, Koni City. In Koni, there's a bunch of cool stuff. A new clothing store, a friendship raider store, a massage stall, jewelry shop, and a gym, but it's optional, so I'm definitely not doing that shit. And then I proceeded to catch myself a Phantom, who fortunately for me evolves through trade. So I hacked the trade evo. I also got a Nosepass. I just like Nosepass. And a lot of others also evolved, like Wii U, who evolved all the way into a Poliwrath, or He-Man, who became a Duck Trio with beautiful hair and an insane typing. And of course I let him show off right away when fighting against Team Skull to save an odd-looking scientist. After helping out, he told me to come meet him at a resort. Never do this in real life. Eventually, it also ran into Team Skull's admin, Plumeria, who I actually didn't plan for. Her gold bet alone actually will give me a run for my money, but my hero helped, finished the job for us, and got us the win. And of course, I let them show off for me again against Olivia. My goat Wii U literally has 2 types rock types are weak against. So I let him take care of the Enriff with Brick Rake, and of Lily with a Z-Moon. The last Pokemon Olivia sent out was on Lycanroc, who also has a Sea Crystal. Pretty scary stuff, to be honest. So I used my classic debuff combo with Roblox, and then sent in help since he honestly really benefits from getting hit by these physical attacks. But not only that, it also has a secret great attacking stat, which actually finished off Lycanroc. We just beat the Grand Trial, and more importantly, stamped these 2 legends as major role players for our run. And of course I took him with me to the Grand Resort. Here the weird dude from earlier would introduce himself. His name is Faba, and he'd end up taking us to a secret facility that researches things for the sake of Pokemon. It's called the Aether Paradise, and it's filled to the brim with Pokemon. Although I just got here, I got introduced to the president Lusamine, who started giving us signs of having a savior complex. But our talks got interrupted when an alien made its appearance. I swear things just keep getting more unhinged. Of course, fending off the alien was no easy task, but Roblox got it done. And then the blue people showed up again, making this crossover even weirder. They explained it's a Pokemon from Ultra Space, called an Ultra Beast. And they warned us about a Pokemon named Necrozma, who stole the light in their dimension. Oh well, it had nothing to do with me, so it was just time for me to go to the next island. Our plan was to just meet up with Professor Kukui in the Melee Garden. But before we could do that, I wanted another battle. But this time, there was something different about him. Our battle started with our usual starter matchup, but his Dartrick would somehow outperform my Sunny, which has never happened before. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was actually a bit threatening, and I couldn't accept that, so I switched Sonny out for wipe out the Ampharos, someone I have great hope for in the future. But how had a mysterious air around him, and he decided that the best way to beat me is to crush my hopes and my dreams. And he orbital lasered the fuck out of Wipeout. Not only did I never see that coming, but it would also put me in a weird spot. I brought Wipeout specifically to counter House Vaporeon, and now things are kinda unpredictable. I let Wii U take on Vaporeon because it has Water Absorb and can be hit by its strongest move as a result. Then I let Help take care of House Raichu, and it takes care of it in one shot after taking a bunch of damage. Then House Towers would hit the field and do a scary bit of damage with Horn Attack. But there are layers to this. Big Beak 2 not only burns the towers with Beak Blast, but also does a crazy chunk of damage, setting up Roblox for an easy kill, leaving it in a position to run away with the victory. But although I claimed to win this time, it wasn't convincing, and more importantly, I lost someone I cared for. Shortly after Hao and I met up with the professor, we told him about the Ultra Beast, and then Gum recommended to visit Mount Hokulani for the electric trial. Before going out to catch a Masquerain and update the drip one last time. Then me and Lily would visit the library where we'd run into Hapu. Hapu is someone I've met before, and I haven't mentioned her yet. She's mostly just there for the vibe. While searching for a book that could explain what the Blinding One could be, we also met with Acerola, the ghost type leader, someone we'll probably see again later. And of course my favorite, Black Oak. I love him! After finishing my business in the city by catching a Trubbish, Pineco, and a Pancham, it was finally time to move up the mountain. At the mountaintop, Professor Kukui was showing me something special. An even bigger mountain. The highest peak in Alola. Mount Akala. And right there is where he wants to host Alola's first Pokemon League. Wait, Alola didn't have a league? It's pretty exciting stuff that I have the opportunity to become the first champion Alola has ever seen. So I head into the next trial super energized. In this trial, Solvical, the trial leader, is a complete rookie. It's the first trial that he's organizing. And of course, everything goes wrong when his machinery decides to aim its cannon at these sweet little innocent charge bugs. The Totem Pokemon came in to save the day by absorbing all that energy and armor farming in the process. And yet, he got one shot by He-Man and 1 Earth power. And that's how I beat my first trial. Beating this trial naturally meant an increase in our level cap. Now, the level cap rule is not a rule I've been strictly following because God forbid I wipe out because of that and have to start from the beginning and watch all those cutscenes again because I overleveled. But now that the level cap is around level 35, I can finally evolve my starter into a Incineroar. And I thought that was so cool. When returning from the mountain, we found out that the professor has run into some Team Skull trouble. Or better yet, some Guzma trouble. That's Guzma, the leader of Team Skull, and he's actually kinda threatening. Or to be more specific, his Pokemon are kinda scary. He leads with a Calisapod, one of the scarier Pokemon in this game. But of course, since he's a bug type, Big Pig 2 basically does its thing on him. Guzma's second Pokemon, Masquerain, who's also a bug type, actually turned out to be the real issue, making Big Pig flinch and doing a bunch of damage with Air Slash. Now I don't have the best counter for this Pokemon. My best one died to House, so I'm just working with what I got. Like Salsa Bird, who takes a shit ton of damage from an Air Slash as well. What the hell? What the hell is this Pokemon doing? Why is it doing so much damage? Even He-Man, who it's literally not effective against, take a shit ton of damage. For no reason. Everyone just does. So I had to sack someone to prevent the deaths of some others. So I'm sorry Big Nose Bob and maybe Salsa Bird. That one was an accident. Honestly, it even seems like Guzma was surprised that I sacrificed so much. But I'm looking at the bigger picture. And unfortunately for Big Nose Bob, that nose isn't big enough for my future. Guzma and his squad would leave the garden and the professor handed me the ultimate gift, an Incendium C, giving Incineroar his own unique C move. So obviously I had to test it out on this random preschooler. That was pretty cool. Up next was the ghost type trial, so I naturally hunt down encounters on the way there. I missed the one I wanted most, but I got a lot of cool things. I caught Taydene, Vulpix, and Gumshoes. That one's alright. I also finally evolved Billie Jean into a Vikavolt, making it extremely good. Then at Route 13, me and Hal would run into Gladion once again, and he'd tell us Team Skull was looking for Cosmo. Now obviously, we shouldn't tell him that Lily has the Pokemon, but I mean, it's not like she's any good at keeping a secret herself. But surprisingly, he tells us to protect it instead of, I don't know, some evil shit. You know what? Maybe there's more to that guy than being edgy. After a quick stop at the Aether house, Acerola invited me and Hao to the ghost type trial. But first I ran into Lily getting harassed by a Team Skull member at the front door. He claims he saw something move in her bag. I told you so. So I had to scare him away. Acerola told Lily she could come rest at the Aether house, and I decided to move towards the trial. But first, I had to do some sneaky preparation. The totem Pokemon for this trial is Mimikyu, a ghost and fairy type Pokemon who I wanted to kill as quickly as possible. But for that, I'd need a steel type with strong steel type moves, aka not He-Man. Luckily I remembered something, the Fossil Restoration Caravan. Here I can revive the fossil of various Pokemon whose fossils are literally available in a local thrift shop. So I got myself a Credidos, a rock steel type with a high attack stat, who I could immediately evolve in a Rampardos for an even more bizarre attack stat. Now for the steel type attack I learned, well, I had to get Iron Tail. It was the best move I could get at the time. And to get even more crazy, I got myself a Steely MC from interacting with the guide at Mount Honokuli. I've built myself basically the perfect anti-Mimikyu Pokemon, and yet I don't think it's enough. It doesn't feel convincing. I need something to turn the kill into something I'm 100% confident in. And there's only one way to do that. I started the fight with Roblox. I think you might be seeing where this is going. Roblox did the usual stuff. Intimidate, Screech, giving us our final setup, which would have to be enough to kill the Mimikyu. And I'm proud to say that it did. Roblox sacrificed their life so the rest of us could keep going. And with that, we conquered the ghost type trial, but at what cost? Going for our encounter in the grocery store just wouldn't fill that hole in my heart. A shop at a school, but it's just not Roblox. And to make things worse, when I came back to the Aether house, it was surrounded by Team Sculptor. I wasn't in the mood for their bullshit, so I beat the brakes off them. But they didn't seem that bothered about it. In fact, they actually dared me to come to their home base to save the Pokemon they stole from a little girl. Now personally, I thought going there on my own would get me taken out like Bruce Wayne's parents. But to progress the plot, I had no other choice. At least I got to catch Krokorok as a consolation prize, huh? To obtain the Pokemon we need to get to Bowtown, I won a coin flip against the gambling addict and then entered the waters with a new Sharpedo. The road to Bowtown was kinda grim compared to the rest of the game. Yes, I did catch a cool Scraggy, but I also traveled through what seems like a place in an anime where the protagonist dies during the final battle, but that place did blast me with a colony, so we take those. And on our next route, I'd continue a new trend of striking cold, introducing the most clutch encounter yet, Skarmory. With such an encounter, there's just nothing that you can feel other than excitement, and that's how I felt even though my face doesn't reflect it. A 6 steel flying type attacking the... wait, what? His attack sucks, and it doesn't learn great attacking moves? Yeah, I'll be real with you, I didn't know how to use this Pokemon. So after finally getting to Bowtown, fighting off Team Skull at the gate and getting some help from an old guy to get in, I dropped it in the box for a different flying type. Although Team Skull goons were crawling around the entire town, infiltrating Guzma's base of operations was a piece of cake. Hell, I even managed to avoid fighting anyone there by sneaking and maybe looking up the password online. While sneaking, I also found the evolution stone necessary to evolve my Vulpix, so now I've got myself a strong fairy ice type. Things have been going great for me, dude. Eventually I found Guzma hiding in a secret room and started another fight with him. This time I had the Dane with me, since she not only has a great special attack stat, but also resists all of Masquerade's bullshit and does a decent deal of damage. Before the fight, I also changed my mind on Skarmory, since because of its cool design, I did want to use it, and it finished the Masquerade off. It didn't do as well as I hoped, but a combo between him and Amy, my Oricorio, was enough to finish the battle. So after causing Guzma to crash out again, I robbed a Buggy MC from the place, since there seemed to be plenty, and retrieved the Pokemon for the kid. Everything seemed to just be going well, but of course, when I came back, Lily will be gone. Even worse, she will be kidnapped by Team Skull, and guess what? In a cutscene, she's not even hiding that damn Pokemon, bro. I told you so. After that, Gladion just randomly charges in and seems stressed Lily has been taken and attacks me out of everybody there for no reason. So of course I had to calm him down with a simple ass beat. Afterwards, he does apologize and reminds us of how big of a threat Cosmo can be. So he tells us to meet him at the ferry. Now me personally, I'm not ready to do that shit. I had to get ready because I knew there was someone else waiting at the ferry as well. Remember that guy who helped me get into Bowtown? The other one? Yeah, he's actually this island's kahuna, and he's a dark type trainer. Pretty scary stuff if you don't have the fairy type, bug type, or fighting type. Oh wait, I have planted. Yeah, that's right, I built this entire team to counter his team of 3, even bringing along Richard to finish the job against his Krokorok. Yeah, I cooked this shit. I mean, although my encounters haven't been all what I wanted, there's one thing my box has that has carried me through the game so far: diversity. Lots of it, and because of that, I've always been able to build teams around what I need most for a fight. So when Gladion took us to Aether Foundation after revealing that they are the ones who took Lily, I wanted to get ready for the upcoming fights as usual. Wait, I can't go back? That's right, I was stuck here at the Aether Paradise, and that just made everything like a million times harder. So yes, in this chaotic situation, I've had to fight my way through these crazy Aether Foundation trainers. Sonny did a lot of carrying here, and without him as my backbone, I wouldn't even have made it through the first floor. Like, this shit is genuinely going off the rails so bad, in the worst way possible. If any of my guys die, I simply can't make up for that in numbers. And while fighting and searching for Lily, we found out that these Aether Foundation people are actually terrifying people. They used to torture Cosmo to get it so stressed that it would literally open ultra wormholes. Can you imagine torturing this little guy? That is insane. The one leading this whole operation apparently is the president herself. And she's also the one who got Lily. So how Gladion and I fight through more and more trainers while I'm slowly burning through all of my resources. At the front of Lusamine's villa where Lily is being held, Guzma is guarding the doors and I have to fight him again. All worn out just to get a shot at saving my friend. And this guy, Guzma, was more threatening than ever. Well, his Golisopod wasn't, but that's been known. This time his second Pokemon will be Pinsir instead of Masquerade, and he did a lot of damage with Stone Edge against Uwu. With a Volt Switch, I get Uwu out for Wii U, and Wii U immediately shows us why he's such a legend for us, hitting Pinsir with a Body Slam and paralyzing him by doing so. Pinsir eventually goes down and Guzma's brand new Giga Volt hits the field. Now of course I switch Wii U out, I mean, I can't risk it, but Guzma does something to mess everything up for me. He hits an energy ball crit against Richard, and I honestly can't afford someone else to take that damage and die from it, except maybe Sonny, but I'm gonna need Sonny at 2 HP to even get a shot at Masquerade, and I was right. Sonny took out the Pokeball, but wasn't able to one-shot the recurring threat throughout the run, and since it outspeeds me, I had to gamble it all and pray I wouldn't get crit. Luckily for me, it all ended up working out, but this fight came at a cost. Now that Richard was gone, who was gonna be my sacrificial pawn? I honestly was too emotionally invested in all of these guys, especially these two who have been carrying us for so long, for like the entire playthrough. Well, after entering Lusamine's room, I'd find my answer. I wouldn't stand for sacrificing anybody. If we're going to fight to save Nabi, we're gonna do it with all our heart, even though Nabi almost killed me at the start. So we head up to Lusamine's final chamber where she'd reveal she's actually trying to save everyone by finishing off the blinding one herself. And in case you didn't get to this conclusion earlier, Gladion and Lily are kids. But it is ridiculous that although everyone is begging for her to stop, her savior complex just won't make her listen. In her head, she has to save us. But maybe, just maybe, we're the ones that need to wake her up and save her instead. And so our battle with the Aether President Lusamine came to a start. Her first Pokemon was a Clefable, and I'd start this battle off with a huge mistake. My Ice Beam did no damage. I was shocked when I saw this because although Clefable has a decent special defense stat, it shouldn't be tanking an Ice Beam like this. Well, maybe if you don't account for EVs, which is something I didn't do. Remember at the start of the run I talked about these hidden stats, and well, now they really came into play and I'd be suffering as a result. I switched Fiend out for Sonny to try and get rid of this Clefable as soon as possible, and went for the Z move, which got rewarded with a critical hit. Her second Pokemon was a Melodic, which is bad news. I did have 2 electric types, but they will definitely lose the fight if I went for a fair 1v1 after a switch. So swapping Wii U, hoping to Water Absorb and Water Pulse. And of course, when I switched into Dane, he got hit by Water Pulse. Switching Wii U back in was risky, but I needed to make something happen. So I went for a play that could really shift the momentum in my favor. I went for Hypnosis, but unfortunately for me, it missed. My last hope was hitting a Body Slam Paralyzed, but of course I got a critical hit instead. And although there was a chance for Wii U to survive this turn, a high damage roll from Melodic would end this chapter. This situation really sucked for me, and I had to believe in Billie Jean, a Pokemon who has been underperforming for me, to finish the Melodic off with a Thunderbolt. Luckily, now that she has a better moveset and some decent training, she pulled her weight and miraculously survived an Ice Punch to finish off Low Bunny with a clutch Thunderbolt. When the Beware came out, I decided to swap out Billie Jean for you. Not even because I thought it'd be that much better, but because I certainly didn't want to let go of Billie Jean. It's been here for so long and it just didn't feel right the second after how it just saved my run. Uwu wouldn't survive the Drain Punch, but that was okay. It did great during its time with him, and Fiend would have to pick up where she left off. And honestly, kudos to Fiend for surviving that shit on 5 HP. It's like, wow. Lusamine's last Pokemon, Lilligant, actually had a weakness against 3 of mine, but 2 of them are literally on their last legs, which means there's only one guy that could do the job for me. And after tanking multiple battle dances, he'd finish off Lilligant with a single Fire Fan, saving the run for all of us. That was my hardest battle. There will never be someone that can replace Wii U, but there is someone who can't accept the loss. Although we beat Lusamine, she opens a portal anyways, and she and Guzma disappear through it, going who the hell knows where. Nabi ends up looking different, and we decide to return from the Aether Foundation and go back home. Or to Poni Island. Poni Island seems to be the final stop on our adventure. Gladion advised us to find the kahuna of this island, because they apparently might have a clue on how we can save Guzma and Lusamine, I guess. Our first step to find the kahuna is talking to this lady named Mina. She's a captain on this island and advises us to talk to Hapu, the girl that just shows up for the fight. But before that, I actually went back to Route 14 because I need a new strong water type Pokemon. So I got myself a Tentacruel named Squid Games too. Also apparently at Sealfolk Village, there's just a random NPC that gives you an Aerodactyl, which is pretty neat. Finding Hapu wouldn't take that long, but I did catch a Granbull and Furfu on the way. She tells us that they actually don't have a kahuna on Poni Island, which is worrisome. But Hapu told us to follow her, so I thought she had a plan. Her plan was becoming the kahuna herself. This quest eventually sent us towards Executor Island, which is filled with, well, You can guess. After helping them out, getting my encounter, and grabbing the Sun Flute, we head back to Seafolk Village. Blah blah blah. Team Skull actually turns out to be chill, and they just really love Guzma. Blah blah blah. I'll be real with you, there was just a lot of filler, but I got a boulder, which is pretty sick. And after that, we arrived at the Fast Pony Canyon. Traveling through this Fast Pony Canyon would be no easy task. Honestly, this part of the game felt like Victory Road. Strong trainers were hiding around every corner, and of course it was impossible to avoid them all, which got me into a bunch of close battles, including the battle against Heather. Now Heather resembles just your everyday trainer, but she's actually the reincarnation of Satan. Her team only features 3 Pokemon, but don't let that fool you. She has a Talonflame that almost kills Squid Game 2, who by the way has a pretty damning type advantage. The only reason she's able to compete with me in this fight, well, I mean, do I really have to say it again? Juice finally got to make its debut and surprisingly put up a Tony Snell stat line against the Glaceon. Luckily, I also had Popo. Yes, I'm using a lot more of the cast than usual since, to be honest, I'm pretty scared of losing the main guys. But there was an exception. I did bring one of the main cast members along, He-Man, who's put in the work for the longest, and with its swiftness and powerful attack and its typing, I'll cook that Glaceon. Ooh. Damn. Sticky Finger came out next and pursued the Glaceon to out-priority the priority move, but unfortunately for me, I spaced out and got her killed against Wailord. So yeah, this whole battle has been a disaster. Eventually, Billie Jean cleaned up the mess I managed to make, but like, that was bad, and I still had to fight the Totem Pokemon. Now luckily for me, most of my Flying type and Fairy type Pokemon were still alive, since this time we're facing off against the Dragon type Pokemon. And fun fact, while I was training them up for this fight, I also got a shiny. That might be a good luck charm. The Totem Komodo actually introduced a new form of stat boost Totem Pokemon get, an Omni Boost. The first turn, he did a bunch of damage against V, who is now fully evolved into a Florges. And since he has a berry that reduces super effective damage taken, he walks away from this turn with a tiny scratch. To make matters worse, he also summons a Noivern, and unfortunately, V doesn't make it. Now, I had to decide which Pokemon would be best to swap in this turn, and I came to the conclusion that it was Reddit. I wasn't 100% sure about it, and even now, I'm still not while editing this video. Reddit didn't get the kill, but did lower Komodo's HP to a point where anyone in my team could just get that kill. The issue now though is getting Reddit the hell out of here, so help comes in to finish the job. Thanks to Dragon Pulse, which also boosts its defense, and then thanks a hit from Komodo, which does no threatening damage as a result. And yes, I planned for that by knowing Noivern has a higher speed than all of us, so help got to take out the Totem Pokemon, and I switched help Fiend to get myself a quad effective hit against the Noivern, guaranteeing us to win, granting us our 7th Sea Crystal. After completing the trial, we'd meet with Hapu and Lily again at the Altar of the Sun. But before I got into all that plot stuff, I went back to Pony Wilds to fight every trainer to get myself a focus sash, just in case. After returning, Lily and I will play on our flutes, completing an ancient ritual capable of summoning this region's legendary Pokemon, or evolving Nebby into the legendary Pokemon. Right after we got to celebrate all this, another Ultra Rumor opened and revealed the one Pokemon we have been warned about the entire game, Necrozma. And holy shit, let me just say, this is one of the coolest Pokemon designs ever, dude. After showing up, Necrozma would actually absorb Solgaleo and open multiple wormholes, which caused a freaking alien invasion, which is, bro, pause, things just keep getting crazier every freaking second. And to stop this, I had to take on this Phenom by myself. Unfortunately for me, starting with Billie Jean might have not been the smartest thing since it damaged me a bunch and I did nothing in return, which seems to be a trend. So I swapped in the Iron Wall Bronson, hoping to slowly eat at his health bar while thinking of a strategy. Oh, isn't that great, he's healing himself. Eventually I gave Bumbun a shot. I used a few liquidations, but it simply wasn't enough to deal lasting damage. But ironically, the answer would actually be Incineroar. Not only can Necrozma, the Psychic type, not hit me with some Psychic type attack, but Incin also resists all of its other attacks, and it does insane damage with its C-move. After witnessing all that, it decided to dip. And maybe it also decided to take all the light of the region with it, but I wouldn't stand for that. So with the help of the blue people, I get into a wormhole and move towards the home of Necrozma, Ultra Megalopis. This area is actually really freaking cool, and we're told by other Recon members that Necrozma is resting at the top of Megalo Tower. But they also told me that it's basically suffering. It's not evil just to be evil. It's evil because it was wronged in the past and lost part of itself. It's more like a wounded animal that needs the light to behold again. Maybe, just maybe I can help. So I arrived at the top of the tower, and Necrozma revealed its true form, staring me down, and I'm not nervous at all. The opposite actually. There's a lot of things I've done this run to prepare for this fight, to be honest. And catching Batman was one of them. And remember that focus slash I got earlier? I never said this was gonna be a fair fight, you know? Unfortunately, it didn't have quick attack when I caught it, but I had to return the light to the people one way or another. As a gift for saving multiple worlds, I got myself my own Poeball. And that will be the end of the Necrozma saga. Maybe I'll see him again. And now the only thing left to do, well, it was to become the champion. I mean, that's what it's all about. So I returned to Mina's home, where she gives me the instructions for a final trial. Fight every trial captain, including her. It's kind of funny because this somehow feels like taking a trip through memory lane, although I haven't fought most of these guys before. But since I hate writing about boss rushes, I'll just make it short. I took Revenge on Lima, I cooked Mallow, basically wet Kawhi, put Belta as the sophicals. Nanu didn't even want to fight because he's just a chill guy. And eventually I ended up back at Mina's house to fight the Totem Ribombi. But this fight was actually pretty rough since I didn't necessarily have anything to hard counter fairy types. That also one shot. I had Squid Games too in the first spot since it actually learns Screech. Yes, I'm going for the Roblox strategy once again, even though it's not the same without her. And then I switched in Vince Carter because I needed to sack someone if I wanted Squid Game to live. And well, I mean, I kinda didn't need him anymore, so, you know. And then I put in Mista, a Pokemon you might have forgotten about since he only recently evolved to level 54, making him finally useful. And well, on his debut, he actually made a splash by killing the Ribombi in one hit and finishing off the Pelipper. I was pretty happy with that, and even happier knowing that I finally completed all my trials, getting me even closer to my objective. So I had to Aether Island once again to fight the final kahuna, Hapu. Although Hapu has been a friend throughout our journey, she and her ground types were the last thing stopping me from greatness. So I had Bun Bun send her a message. I'm not playing around. I wanted to be the champion more than ever. We've been through so much, and we spent so many hours to get to this point that losing simply isn't an option anymore. I had to win, and my friend Hapu could do nothing but respect that. And after all that time, I finally got to the mountain Professor Kukui has been ecstatic about, the place he'd host his Pokemon. But standing in front of me will be one more obstacle because why not? Gladion would actually want one last battle against me to thank me. And he thanked me by blowing up my braviary with his new sea bracelet. Thank you, man. You blew up the Pokemon I've been trying to make usable this entire run. Thank you. Matilda would finish the Zoroark off, but was left in quite a pickle. Now, I switched to Mudsteel because I thought, oh yeah, of course, my defense Pokemon will do good against your attack Pokemon. But I also forgot Lucaria's Aura Sphere, which is a special attack. So I kinda cooked Mudsteel's chances against Silvally. At this point, I couldn't just pivot to anyone else because they definitely die against Silvally, and I thought I needed Whimsicott to have a chance at finishing him off. So I sacrificed Mudsteel, and Matilda still didn't kill with an orbital laser. So now the whole situation is just good. Both of us were about to die, and Silvally outspeeds me pretty convincingly, I'm not gonna lie. But luckily I remembered that Matilda has the ability Prankster, that lets status moves gain priority. So since it was my only option, I let that shit fly. Matilda died, and Silvally got poisoned to death. Wow, thank you, Gladion. What a way to thank me indeed. And after the battle, his whole expression just changed. He seemed happy for once, like, damn, this dude's such an asshole, bro. But I wasn't gonna let it stop me. It just pissed me off a little. Heading up Mount Laninkala was quite the trip. I had a boring encounter and I don't know, a more serious one too, I guess. And eventually, we got to the mountaintop. Now for the Elite Four, I needed an elite team with the best of the best, so here they are. Starting off with a Rook, Croc, a very offensive and fast Pokemon. Next we got Sonny, who's been captain and who's been through everything with us during this entire journey. We also got Bun Bun here, another quite offensive Pokemon, but also someone who can stay alive for a long time with its access to Leech Life, high HP, and a bunch of priority moves. Then we got Squid Games too, of course, someone else that stays on the field for a long time with high HP, high defense, and a great attacking moveset. Yes, I know my team is pretty defensive overall. In fact, I got probably the greatest defensive singles Pokemon there is with us too. Earlier I mentioned I didn't know how to use this Pokemon, but I studied, I learned, and I found out that Brunson is a steel wall, dude, whose role in the team is just to tank hits and outlast everybody else. It might not be the most exciting, but for the exciting stuff we have Billie Jean, who's perfectly able to electrocute anyone standing in their way with a ridiculously high special attack. And now that we had defeated the Elite Four, there would be only one more thing to do before claiming the title of the best like no one ever was. The final step was taking on my rival one last time. The one who's been going toe to toe with me throughout this entire journey. How? And he stopped smiling. He's a different trainer. He's in that mode. And yeah, Bun still one-shots his Raichu the first turn with a first impression. Although he has leveled up his game, I tried to show him I wasn't playing around either. To my surprise, Tinkerdudle outspat Bun, which triggered its ability emergency exit. Unfortunate, but I did get to switch to whatever I wanted, and decided to switch to Brunson. Yes, I got outspat, sure. But trust me, for Brunson, that doesn't really matter. It has Iron Defense. To boost its broken defenses even more. And of course, I have Roost and Toxic, you see? You see why I said this Pokemon is the greatest? And it's also kind of toxic? It's almost impossible to get rid of it, especially for How. But a strong special attack is pretty dangerous. I'd rather not play around one of those, so I switched in Billie Jean. That's why I'd rather not play around with any of them. Squid Game 2 came in to tank the next one, and we started doing what Squid Game is good at. Being toxic and laying down spikes. Most of my Pokemon aren't even here to do big damage. They're here to make your life worse. And eventually, How will burn through all of his full restores trying to keep Vaporeon healthy. But to be honest, he was just running away from the inevitable. I had never played Pokemon like this before. So, not aggressive. And yet it clicked for me. Like, when that Tauros came in, I switched to Bun and I knew it freaking tanked a freaking Earthquake. Let Bun basically kill him in one turn and get myself a switch by dying so I could counter his Noivern with Squid Game. It was raps. He tried his best, but my best is better. And to end things off, he sent in his partner Decidueye. And I had to end things off the way we started them. Starter versus starter. Sonny and I would do our final C move together to crown ourselves as the champion. We did it. We beat the hardest Pokemon game, and I got to experience a journey full of losses, wins, emotions, drama, just an overall great experience. Alola is definitely a standout. It's like so different from the rest of the games. I'm talking about the fights, the plot, the region itself, the places you travel, the characters you meet. The experience might not be for everyone, but it definitely has a special place for me. And it's something I'll never forget. Also, Incineroar is the fucking goat. Oh, and in case you've been following this journey for a while now, the only gen we have left is Gen 6 actually. And it will probably be called... Oh, Gen 6 will have to wait.